Well, hey, welcome to the Learn Podcast Production Podcast. My name is Toby Lyles here with 24 Sound, taking you through another fantastic show. This will be good today. We're going to talk about declicking. Now, for those of you in the audio business, you and me both, we're buddies when it comes to clicking. I feel like a good audio person can hear a click a mile away, and while the rest of the world is not hearing the smacking and clicking that our friends do, you and I, we can hear. We can hear. And honestly, I catch myself. I've said this. I catch myself listening. Like not only do I hear the click, but I will envision the click. I will envision what the click looks like. I will envision the amplitude of the click. It is ridiculous, people. It is ridiculous. I will be talking to someone and all of a sudden hear the click and be fixing it, or in my mind, and what strategies I would employ. So that's what we're talking about today: how to deal with clicking, but not mouth clicks. So I'm actually talking about dealing with the clicking that comes from internet recordings. Now, it doesn't have to be internet recordings, but internet recordings are just the worst offenders. So any bad equipment, I've seen even laptops. Someone is doing a laptop and 2 tracks and whatever. They just got a little bit more than the computer can handle, and we have sample rate errors, and the machine is trying to catch up, and so it drops the sample and makes these terrible clicks. Now, if Skype is a big offender of this, Zencastr is one of my favorite tools, and they've been fighting this problem as well. It's especially difficult because their platform allows you to record one person with 44,100 and one person with 48,000 sample rates, and that really can cause problems. So they're doing a great job dealing with that. But if you've experienced this with them, there are ways to solve that, not just with Zencastr, but with anything else. Skype again. So basically, what I'm saying is our biggest tools to record remotely on internet all have these clicks and these errors. So how do you solve that? Well, Izotope has come out with some really good tools for this. And so we're primarily going to be using Izotope today, but we're going to be doing it within Adobe Audition, not because of any particular reason, except that it's probably going to be the fastest as we work with this, and because there's some tricks I want to show you about how to see and visualize these the best in Audition. This applies to anything that actually works great in RX6. So either place you use it, it'd be fantastic. This is just for me the best way to show you how to do it. You apply these in your own software. So getting to the software, I want to show you the click now, and it's right here, and you can see this jump. Now, for those who are listening, it just looks like a cliff or like a sharp mountain peak, a needle in the middle of your audio. It's hard to see when you're zoomed out. You'll never see it, but you will hear it. And when you zoom in on the waveform, you'll see this sharp peak that doesn't stand, that doesn't fit with the rest of the audio. The spectral view is also interesting. If you increase your spectral resolution, you'll rarely see these. But if you decrease it all the way down to almost nothing, and depending where the frequency of the click is and the amplitude and whatnot, there's different ways to see it better. But by increasing and decreasing the spectral resolution in RX6 and in Adobe Audition, but especially in Audition, you're going to really be able to see these clicks pop out. So it's awesome. It's awesome because you can see them. Now, why I really like that feature is because sometimes the spectral, I rely on the spectral view because it's such a clear way of seeing the clicks fast. So if you're zoomed out too far to see the actual waveform, it can be difficult to see the click. And if you zoom too into the waveform, again, it's difficult to see the click. But if you're going only on visual, if you hear the click, it moves by so fast, it's hard to put the playhead exactly on the click to deal with the problem. So the spectral view is one of our biggest tools in visualizing so that we can eliminate the clicks. But if you don't see it, then that's not going to work. So that's why spectral is important, because spectral is the way that we're seeing, at least for me, that's the way I'm able to see these clicks the most. Now there's a couple ways to dealing with clicks. One is to do a broadband sweep and just declick the entire file. Now, the advantages and disadvantages of that are if you declick the entire file, for one, it's going to take a lot of processing, and that may be an issue for you. Another thing is the clicks may vary, and so dealing with them with one plugin may be hard because they might have various frequencies and whatnot, or whatever. They could be a little different. And the third thing is that it degrades the whole file. That's the biggest reason, is the whole file is degraded by the declicking function. There are a few times when just a light declicking just solves it all, and you don't even hear it really, but you got lucky that day. So that's why that can be a problem, is because the entire file sounds like junk when you're done. But on the other hand, an advantage of the declicking, well, if you do it that way, if you declick the entire file, it's fast. So like you don't have to go one by one. You can just press it, go take a nap and come back. And I love that about how to do the entire, and I'm going to show you how to do the entire file. Some settings that I found that have been effective, some ways to handle this. Another thing that is another way to do this, the other option, is to do them individually. So there's two tools to do them. There's a handful of tools, but you can individually declick the click. So you can highlight the click and declick, or you can do in Adobe Audition, you can do auto heal, which is amazing. If you're in other software, they might allow you to actually manipulate samples. Or if you're in Izotope, they might have the interpolate function, or they do have the interpolate function. And that interpolate function is also kind of like the auto heal, but a little bit more specific. It's very cool. And that can help. Now, the auto heal, declicking all of these, they're very good at getting the high end frequencies. The problem is getting some of the low end frequencies of these sample rates. So that's one problem we'll deal with as we go. So I just pulled up on the video, I just pulled up the declicks and whatnot that I have, that I've used successfully for a number of Zencastr repairs. And I've used this also plenty for Skype. I'm just going to show you what settings I have and tell you what settings I have. And you can hear this just fine. If you're in audio, you'll hear this and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So if I've got RX declick, then one way I found to do the declick very well is to do it at different frequencies. So I'll do one declick at a very low sensitivity at one frequency skew, and then another plugin parallel at a different frequency skew. I personally found that click widening at the maximum level at 5, it feels like it works the best on these declicks because they need to be smoothed out. I could be wrong on that. That's just what I've seen so far. So you tell me. But that's what I'm using. I've tried single band. I've tried multi-band. They say there is a difference. I've yet to see major differences. So please tell me if you see a major difference between any of those algorithms. Yeah, I often do the periodic. I often do multi-band because it feels like it's better. So I did. So I have one RX right in the middle between low frequency and high frequency. The sensitivities are both at 1, and then I have another one right underneath it on a rack, and that is I've got a -5 frequency skew. So I'm going more on the lower side for the clicks I have. Now your clicks may be different, but that's just the settings that worked. Then I actually have a mouth declick, and I felt like this was more effective than the regular declick at the really low frequency stuff. And so I have the frequency skew all the way down at -10, and my sensitivities at 3. I also have all 3 of those at a massive click widening, which again, sometimes I'm still working on that. I still wonder if that could be changed. I would rather be more narrow, I think. But this is what's worked. So that's my 3 declicks that I have. So I have 3 declicks all in a row, all pretty minor settings. But that last one with a -3, that's pretty significant. And I feel like that's doing some heavy lifting. But the way I did to find this is I simply just ran one declick and kind of listened to see where it landed, and then And then I ran another declick. And when I say landed, I just ran it and found, you can solo it in and listen to make sure it's catching the clicks. And I just kept on turning it down until it stopped catching the click. And I just turned it right back above that. And then I did it again with the next one. And again, I'm looking for different frequencies as I do that. So I'm trying to catch the whole click. The high frequency, again, is really easy to catch. Just this low frequency. So that's why you see on the 3D clicks, I keep on going down. I'm not going up on the high frequencies. Then I have an EQ on this, and I have the Neutron 2 simply because in a very specific, very low end, what is this at 1? What do we have? Let me tell you what I got here. I've got one fairly narrow proportional Q at 162 hertz with a gain of negative 13.4. Like, oh my goodness. But I have a dynamic mode. I'm hoping that helps. So this takes a lot of the energy out of the low end, you can imagine. And then I also have just a low shelf at 112. Don't do exactly what I'm doing. Find the frequency you feels work, but that's what I felt like it was somewhere around there was this low frequency content. In this case, I'm basically just trying to EQ out the rest of the low end and just do this massive high pass filter in a way so that it sounds a lot thinner, but I'm not trying to make it too thin. And trying to get the low end frequency content out, because if after you click, you can get that high end stuff out, but then that low kind of is this little thump pop, which is why after I do the Neutron 2, I still do something else. I have the deplosive running, sensitivity at 3. Again, that's RX, and strength at 4, a little under halfway, and a 254 frequency limit. So I've got a pretty high frequency limit. That's looking for anything that feels plosive-y and trying to take it out. And I felt like those low end thuds of the clicks are plosive-y, and it turns out as I use that helps take it out. Now I'm not going to run those now, and I'll probably not do that for this podcast because I just gotta be honest. This takes so much processing to record. I'm recording on the same computer because that's how you can see it, because it's on the same computer, and I just have a hard time with the CPU. We'll all be sitting here forever, and it's pretty crazy. So that's what I found that does a pretty good job. So I can show you, though. I can run this, and then and I'll just show you what it sounds like before and after. So here's before.
Welcome to the latest step. Welcome to the latest step.
And here's after.
Welcome to the latest step. Welcome to the latest step.
Okay, I'm be honest. I just edited those in because, my computer is taking too long to do that. So that is how I'll deal with the entire file. I'll just add all these high processing, high CPU intensive plugins, and I'll run them over the entire file. So that is option 1. Option 2, just to make sure. Option 1 is running a gamut of effects. Could be one plugin, it could be all the plugins. That's like the most extreme version I have of click repair, and I run it on an entire file. So this is like, you want to do that when you have serious problems coming in with like clicks everywhere. If you just have a couple of clicks, or you're editing thoroughly for more detail, you're going to want to run on a lower price thing where you don't have time, they haven't given you an investment to really dig into it, then you just want to apply some effects over it, and you're going to do the best you can, but you're not going to be able to deal with these things one by one. And the second way so that's option 1. The second way to do that is to deal with these clicks individually. So individual click repair is in Adobe Audition is simply highlighting the click, and you just kind of want to go on one side or the other. And then you're just going to do an effect, and you'll do auto heal selection. When you auto heal selection, that will smooth out that area, and it will be a lot smoother. You can see on my waveform that high frequency stuff went away. There's probably a little bit in the low end, but it helped a lot. That is the same thing you do with interpolate. Just highlight in RX6 and remove it. So that is the two ways of dealing with clicks in anything, in any software, but that's the two ways of dealing with clicks. If you're dealing with, if you're in Pro Tools or something and you want to just swap over, a lot of people will, if they're using Pro Tools, instead of doing it individually like I'm doing here in destructively, I'm doing it destructively in Adobe Audition, you'll want to just hook up RX6 to Pro Tools and just run the plugin where it sends it over to RX from Pro Tools, deals with it, and then returns it back to the original, returns it back into Pro Tools. So that is how that's dealt with in other software. And that, my friends, is how you deal with clicks. Again, the clicks are caused by equipment problems. So the goal is to solve the equipment problem. You need more CPU. Generally, it's a CPU problem or an audio driver problem. But once it's done, it's done. So you're probably getting this stuff, trying to fix it. There are also, vinyl, and there's also all these other kinds of things that are caused by CPU, or that declicking is for. I'm not talking about those. Those are pretty easy. I feel like this is the stuff that most of us, especially podcasting, or if you're doing some sort of forensic stuff, you might get a lot of this. Yeah. So, hey, that's it. We're keeping it short. Otherwise, thank you for some of you for reaching out. I just wanted to say I appreciate hearing you. And again, I'm doing this because I like making connection with people, and I appreciate that you have connected. If I can even speak, I appreciate that. So don't hesitate. Feel free to reach out. I'd love to know what you're doing. If you want to be on the podcast, I would love it. I would love to talk to some more of you. I feel like every time I talk to some of you, I'm like, I appreciate you listening to my podcast. I'd like to listen to your podcast because there's some serious pros out there. So that's how I feel about that whole thing. Thank you for reaching out. Love what you're doing. Love that you're kicking butt out there. I do have a course, as I always mention, is up there on Thinkific, and it helps you move fast through audio. So that's the goal of that. It does not go through, if you're already like a EQ expert and whatever, like that's not the purpose of this podcast, to make you awesome at EQs or compressors. It is simply, here's some things you can do to move fast and quick through audio and not have to, and get moving and have professional sounding shows straight away. So otherwise, my friends, go out, make the world sound great.